Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Northport, A View from Here. Our guest today is Mr. Bob Tunis from the City of Northport. Bob is the Economic Development Manager for the city and is working hard trying to bring businesses into Northport. Welcome, Bob. And,
my pleasure to be here.
And how are things going?
Couldn't ask for a better job than this,
Good.
I tell you.
We usually start off our programs with a little introduction by the guest of who they are, where they're from, what they've done before, and so this is your opportunity to shine.
Well, I'll give you a brief introduction because I don't want to take up the whole 30 minutes, and I could easily do that because I probably had at least 30 jobs in the last 30 years.
What are you trying to say?
No. Always voluntary. But the last job I had was in Montana, in a county in the far northern west part of Montana, near the Idaho and the Canadian border, and I was the executive director of the Lincoln County Economic Development Council. And that was a population, coincidentally enough, very similar to the population of the population of Northport. And I did that for 2 years, and we were responsible for bringing in a $400 million resort. That was a combination of a high-tech business park at the same time. And very different than Florida. I mean, they had an unemployment rate of over 16%. Most of their industries have shut down, and it was a real challenge to take the job. Before that, I was in Canada. I've been trying to get rid of my accent, but I haven't been successful yet. I was in Alberta for nearly 10 years. I was the Director of Investment for Europe for the Alberta Trade Ministry for 7 years, and during that time I was also responsible for tourism for a 2-year period and for investment for a 3-year period. And then before that, I lived all over the world. I was a Foreign Service Officer. I was in Thailand, I was in Trinidad, I was in Jamaica, and I was in Germany for 5 years. And then before that, I worked for an airline, but I'm back in my 20s when I had lots of hair, so I won't talk about those days.
I know how those days are myself. So you've had quite a varied background and quite a varied location. So that's very interesting. What does an economic development manager do? Well,
there's really two parts. The main part is to create jobs and create quality jobs. And really, I'll be judged on how many quality companies we bring to Northport, and what type of jobs they offer, and what type of opportunities we have for the residents in Northport. On a more general level, I'm responsible for coordinating the economy of Northport. And it's hard to believe sometimes that a city has an economy, but we definitely do, where we have people that work in Northport, we have people that spend money in Northport, we have businesses that do business in Northport, and they all work together to develop the economy of the city, which is basically how people work and how they receive incomes. And it's quite an important function that sometimes is overlooked.
Now, when you say quality jobs, most everybody in town is working, but what do you mean by quality jobs?
Well, it's pretty easy to quantify. One, you want jobs that pay well over the average income of the county, and I think the average family income, is $23,000 to $25,000. We would like jobs that pay really $35,000 to $45,000. They have jobs that have full benefits, and of course not all jobs do that, and jobs that offer a chance of advancement, where you won't be stuck in being in a single service job for the next 10 or 15 years, where you have a chance to get ahead. That's really the definition of
and isn't this something that every city or every economic development manager is looking for?
Well, it's too bad that we're not the only ones looking for those jobs, but at any one time, anybody, even in your immediate area, is looking for the same type of opportunities.
Now, with your background, you've seen a lot of different locations, a lot of different cities and towns and areas, and how they've developed economically, what their makeup of the citizens are, and business, so on and so forth. You've been here, 2 years now. In those 2 years, what have you seen in Northport?
Well,
or what's your impression of Northport?
It took me a while to realize what an advantage of a position we have in Northport. Number one is we have probably the largest, youngest workforce within an 80 to 100 mile radius. And workforce is essential for companies now. It's probably the most important factor, actually more important than costs. It's more important for a company coming into this area how good the workforce is and how long they'll stay than it is how much they have to pay them. Second, we have land available for expansion. There's been so much growth in this area that in most of the areas up and down the west coast of Florida, there's very little land left now for industrial and commercial expansion. Northport, with the recent annexations, has that land. We've attracted developers, and we're ready now to move to the stage where we can attract quality companies.
And what percentage of the land is zoned commercial, or where we can put a business base on it anyway?
In theory, we have about 13 to 15% of our land is available for commercial and industrial. That's compared to 3 to 5% before the annexations. A comfortable city, or a city would comfortably have about 17% of its land for commercial and industrial.
So we still are a little bit on the shy side of...
Yeah. And it will be a bit of a crunch. You have to work with the landowners, you have to work with the developers to convert this land to commercial and industrial applications. A lot of our land is zoned PCD, which can go for residential or commercial or industrial. And it's up to the developers to decide that it's worth their while to set up an industrial park.
For the average folks sitting in, at home now, watching their TV, watching us here, what's the features and benefits of economic development? I mean, many of us come from smokestack states where, there's steel industry, coal industry, and things, and we don't really think very fondly of these industries.
Well, I guess the first point we should make is that we're not looking to attract traditional companies. We're not looking for cement plants. We're not looking for smokestack plants. We're looking for office complex that hire people that pay well, or we're looking for research facilities, or we're looking for specialty manufacturing companies with above average wages. None of these have very high very high environmental impact, and they really actually add to the value of a community rather than detract.
Now, I see Palm Beach is getting a great big, what was it, Scripps?
Scripps Research Plus, they're talking about a major company coming in.
Wow.
Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but why they're getting that and we're not getting that is that they have the universities in their midst that can attract the research facilities, and that's really the key to high-quality economic development.
Education is the key to almost everything in this life.
Well,
I wish I knew that when I was growing up.
I wish I knew that too. I'd be making the millions now if I knew it.
Yeah. One of the I've lived in Northport over 30 years, and we still don't have a whole lot of, restaurants or stores or things like that. What's going on?
Well, the good news is, now that we have Benderson developments moving into both Toledo Blade and I-75 and Sumter and I-75, I expect we'll see the groundbreaking of some pretty good restaurants within 6 months.
Before you go on, let's hold that, and we'll continue with that on the next segment. We'll be back in a moment.
Excellent.
Have you seen Northport lately? Take a minute and take a look.
We really do enjoy nature, and we found it all here, right in our own backyard. Love fishing and boating on the Mayaca. You never know what you might see out there. We toured the whole state of Florida and found that Northport had everything that we wanted.
There's a lot of natural beauty, and there's a lot of wildlife here. I love the open spaces, and I love the quiet.
If you're intrigued by what you just saw, pay us a visit, and you'll see a lot more.
Welcome back to the second part of Northport, A View from Here. Bob, we were talking about restaurants and other types of retail outlets within the city of Northport. What is the status on that now?
So I expect the first restaurants to be built. I don't want to commit myself too much, but within 6 months to a year, we'll probably see the groundbreaking for the first restaurants at the corner of Toledo Blade and I-75, the corner of Toledo Blade and Price. Probably within a year, we'll see more restaurants being built at the corner of Price and Sumter, especially now that the City Hall's been announced and the developers there are ready to move ahead with their plans.
Okay, so it's just a domino effect.
No,
one thing affects the other.
Exactly.
And I know you can't tell us who or what they are because that's kind of confidential, and it's not a fait accompli anyway. But are they franchise types, very recognizable by the public?
Yeah, in the short term, it'll be the large national franchise chains.
Great.
I hope to get more boutique type of restaurants as time goes on and we get a more sophisticated audience for it.
Okay, but I guess those restaurants have the financial capacity to really get in there and open things up. We were talking last segment about the the age of people and the population and such. Do you want to give us a real rundown? I know you have some slides to show.
Let's show a couple of the slides here. I don't think people are aware, because we do this on a daily basis, but you may not be aware how much the population has grown in Northport and how much our workforce has grown. And there's really three factors. One is age, and one is one is population, and one is age. This is a population growth in Northport. If you look, even 1990, which is not that long ago, 13 years ago, we had 10,300 people. When the census was taken in 2000, it was 22,500. We estimate now that we're at 31,500. That's nearly a 50% increase in 2.5 years. I just lost my train of thought. It's not good. Our rate of growth is around 12 to 13%. So we'll probably be at 50,000 within 4 to 6 years, which is pretty significant. From today.
Wow. How do you ascertain the current number versus what the census number was?
The only accurate number is the census number, which was taken in 2000, where they physically count every person in the city. The way we do it is that we then take the number of building permits we issued and multiply that by 2.2, which is what the census told us is the number of people per household in Northport. Based on that, we come up with a number which is actually higher than that 31,500. We're estimating more around 35, 36. But we have to go with the official number of 31.5, which is the BEBR, the Bureau of Economic and Business Research at the University of Florida, which is a designated agency for the federal government.
And they do this for every city or every major metropolis within the state of Florida?
They just came out about 3 weeks ago with the official figures.
So that's a pretty solid number then?
Yeah.
Okay, and what about age?
Okay, the age is a second factor for the workforce. We'll go to the next slide. This is quite significant, and this really is an incredible number. If you look 10 years ago, in 1990, or I guess 12 years ago now, we were at 49 was our median age. We're now at 41. I would estimate we're probably closer to 39 to 40 now, because this was taken 3 years ago. Now that's an interesting number. So, well, so what? We went from 49 to 41. But look around us. Look at Englewood. Went from 64 to 63. Venice went up from 67 to 69. Sarasota County generally went from 49 to 50, but you have to remember a good part of that is Northport. So that took
That's
account
included
of that.
in the Sarasota County number?
That's right. And then Charlotte County went up from 53 to 54. So not only do we have a workforce growing at 12 to 13% per year, we have an average age going down on probably a year every year. It's reducing itself. So this is a significant factor for companies looking for an educated workforce. Maybe the last point to mention is that our level of education is going up every year. Since 1990, it's probably gone up 2 or 3 years in the average number of years of education our residents have.
Well, we had talked about Scripps before, and you had mentioned how important education was. What do you see coming down the road for education then?
Well, in the short term, very shortly we should be hearing about the concrete plans of the University of South Florida to set up a campus in South County. It's not necessarily in Northport, but it will be within the vicinity of here. That is the most significant thing that we could expect to develop the economy of this area. And there's really 2 reasons that happens. One is the university will be responsive to what the companies in this area need for training for the people that they want to have here. And normally they say they're willing within 6 months to a year to set up a course in response to whichever company needs that training. Second is, in a longer term, we hope to have research operations going on by the universities, and out of that we have spin-off companies. And it's the spin-off companies which have the best prospects for long-term economic growth. That may take 5 to 10 years, but that's very exciting in how that happens. And that's how you have Scripps, for example, going to Central Florida, because those research operations are already happening in the universities there.
Yeah. The Manatee Community College has really been a big asset to our community for many years now, and of course that's the first 2 years of a 4-year degree, and adding the element of University of South Florida certainly is an exciting is exciting. And I don't think many people realize that USF is a major research center in the whole United States. It's within the number. It is some part of 1 through 10.
Definitely.
One of the 10 largest ones. So
if you look at the amount of money they put into
it's significant, and to have that being able to roll over a spin-off into Northport over the course of several years is really an exciting exciting type thing. Also, you have Goshen and other
And already Goshen is looking to expand their facilities. So.
Post-secondary opportunities here. I think that's really exciting. And for me, the education and the bringing of businesses and industry into town means we don't have to export our children to Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, or some other place. They can stay here and work. I'm fortunate my kids are all within an arm's reach. I don't know if they think that's
well, they're part
a benefit,
of the Matthews Empire, though, so they don't need to look
not
for
quite.
something.
But anyway, that's really an exciting issue. And even the local school district is very well aware, and they're going to be building a new school in Northport every 2 years.
I'm very impressed how proactive they are. I mean, they're already looking 10 years ahead of time to
And
find land.
they're already buying land and securing land and looking for other land too. A few weeks ago, you had a economic development forum. I was going to say a council meeting, but economic development forum at MCC. Give us a rundown. I was there, and I was very impressed with what I heard from the panel members. And give us a rundown. Let the folks out there know what kind of work you're doing in the field to help promote this growth.
We did the forum for two reasons. One was to impress on the population of Northport how important advanced education is. We wanted to show them what programs the university has for both grants and expansion programs, how the high-tech corridor was set up that we could model our economic development on. And then the second reason we did it was to showcase Northport to people in the region to say that this is now a community which is ready to take significant economic development steps, and here's a chance for people outside of our region to participate in what's happening here. And I think in both areas it worked. I mean, we had over 50% of the people we sent applications to attended the forum, which is unheard of.
Yeah, I think we're really on the radar screen around, not only around the county, but in the southwest Florida region. And certainly we're on the radar for in the state also.
Definitely.
And even Charlotte County with their new Murdoch Village is very much on the radar screen with the state, within the state. I know we had people from Tampa here, the Tampa Alliance or Partnership, and that's always exciting. They don't come unless there's a reason to come.
And that's a very powerful group.
Yes, it certainly is. The other exciting thing that I thought was exciting was not only the educational aspect, which we touched on, but the medical. And how they were looking for some sort of regional medical presence, facilities. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I know that the local hospitals are looking into the again the Toledo Blade area for some sort of medical area to
a medical campus, I think.
Medical campus to at least grow into in the future and provide the services here in town.
That could be very significant for Northport, because if you're talking about both healthcare and research going on here, that could create a number of very high-quality jobs.
Yeah, and after all, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Definitely.
And with that, we'll take a short break and be back in a moment.
There's a rumor that small-town America has all but disappeared.
Northport is the last Mohican. This is the place. This is going to be the last undeveloped region. The city government itself is so pro-growth, and it's just like everything is in the right place at the right time for Northport. They're very open-minded, they're very honest, and they're very fair.
Disappeared? You've just seen evidence to the contrary. We call it Northport.
Welcome back to the final segment of Northport, a view from here. Bob, when we took a break, we were talking about the successes of the forum that we had a few weeks ago at MCC. Are you planning any other forums in the future?
I've been sat down and talked to Mark Roth. As you know, he put together the concept of the original forum, and we're aiming towards the next forum working on housing, because housing is really the reason why we have the significant population growth here, and it's such an evolving topic that I think is very worthwhile that we talk about it. I know that Scope in the county took this as an issue about 2 years ago, but there's so many issues about housing, about affordability, about our demographics changing, about the type of housing we offer, that it would be a very worthwhile subject to discuss. So probably around 6 months from now, we'll be organizing a second forum working on housing.
You know, Northport, I think, was fortunate in not developing as rapidly as perhaps the surrounding community, because now we have an opportunity to work on things and to build, not build on, but to learn from others' mistakes and errors, and to build a real cohesive, forward-looking plan. Now that the new City Hall complex is in the works and approved, the voter referendum is approved, and we touched on it briefly, what is that going to mean for the city as a whole?
It's going to create a real commercial center of Northport. I mean, I'm looking forward to it personally, because I'll be able to work in my office, and then when I have my 5-minute coffee break, walk across the street, and hopefully there'll be a high-class coffee shop to have a real cup of coffee, which is what I've been looking forward to Northport since I've been here.
That's been your job number one,
That's
right?
my job number one, is to do that.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Exactly.
It saves me from driving to Venice or
definitely.
Port Charlotte to get one.
So you'll see a whole village of commercial development happening there, which should be all within walking distance of each other. I know the developers of that area were really waiting to see what's going to happen to the City Hall before they move with their commercial plans.
When you say developers, what?
That would be Dr. Reichert and the Heron Creek people.
I see. And that's their land that surrounds there.
That's right.
And so their marketing plan is based on the growth or the expansion of City Hall in that location.
Well, we have over 300 employees that'll be working there. Plus, you have the high school just down.
So hard to believe, you know, when you look at 30, you know, not too many years ago.
Exactly, and even 30 wasn't. It was too many really for to operate the city.
Yeah.
So no, it really is significant what's happening.
You know, how do when you're promoting the city on the outside, as it is today with portables and an old steel building and things, is it going to be easier for you to market?
Oh,
Will it be easier for companies to accept?
Well, right now, I don't even have a conference room that I can bring people in to present our opportunities. So it's a little. They get the impression of pretty well a little bit of a ramshackle operation when they come in to see us now. With the new City Hall, they'll definitely show this is a city which is on the move.
Now, one of the things that we don't want to forget or lose sight of, and is that US 41 was the commercial hub along US 41. US 41 was it, and we don't want to. With all the exciting things, it's very easy to overlook that which is already there and was the start of the city commercial activity. What's planned for that?
Well, my personal opinion, US 41 is the most important part of the commercial infrastructure of Northport. It's the first impression that people have when they drive into the city normally. We're proposing, and what has been proposed over the last couple of years, is something called a CRA, which is a Community Development Area, which would put tax dollars into improving the infrastructure of US 41, to put in landscaping, drainage, sidewalks, bike paths, public art, to make it a very attractive area for commercial development to occur. We then expect the local businesses to want to upgrade their facilities to bring it up to the standards of the public architecture. And you'll see a very attractive area that will be further develop the commercial development of Northport.
And in case you didn't know, a lot of this work is being done and by the businesses along US 41 because they feel it's important that they maintain the integrity of the business development along that corridor to enhance the city. The other thing I notice when I drive through Northport and I drive through other communities, both north and south of here, is how neat US 41 looks. It's always mowed and the sidewalks are there, and it always looks pleasant. And I like the addition of the flags and things during certain holidays and everything else. The Sarasota County is going to be doing a 5-year plan. economic development plan very shortly if they haven't done it already. What's entailed with that, and how do we fit in that plan?
There's really two impacts, and I'll start off with how we expect the economic attraction to be working. They've identified 3 major sectors in the Sarasota County economy, which I think all of which have an impact on Northport, where they feel the most effort should be put in to attract business. One is specialty manufacturing. We already have companies like Atlantic Teleconnect and UltraPure, which is specialty manufacturing, which have settled in Northport because they feel that it's worthwhile to be with other companies in that area to be able to access the journeymen and the skilled workers in that area. The second one is life sciences, and that's healthcare, as we were talking before, and medical research, and medical devices is a further area. And of course, healthcare is such a large industry in Southwest Florida, it's natural that we should be able to create more quality jobs out of that sector. The third sector is financial services, and that identifies one area where we feel there's a lot of prospect for insurance companies to move their operations to this area because of the number of qualified people we have. We have a number of people working all as far up in Tampa who are insurance adjusters who live in Northport, and this would be a perfect place for a company to set up an insurance adjusting headquarters. And then you have further areas like back office billing and medical billing, which is a big industry in the United States, which offers above average benefits for relatively unskilled people. And I think that would work out well in those 3. So those are the 3 sectors they've identified. And I think all of those 3 sectors would work for Northport in our efforts.
Yeah, one thing that always amazed me in Northport was the quality of our residents and the skills that they have that they're not using any longer. And I would think that getting into these kind of businesses, the businesses would be able to profit and prosper.
Just to give you a completely unrelated example, I was blown over when I went to the first concert in the Northport Performing Arts Center and saw that we had 2 bands and 2 orchestras in town. And that's the type of expertise that we have around, which also exists in the business community.
Yeah, and what's nice about the Performing Arts Center is the way it came together. As a joint venture between the school board and the city of Northport. Exactly. That is something that I know personally is the talk of all the communities around, and in fact they duplicated it down in Punta Gorda, didn't they? So that was a good effort. We've been talking about kind of present things. What do you see for Northport 5 years, 10 years?
5 years is relatively easy because you'll see a visual change in Northport. We'll see substantial commercial development happening at the interchanges in the new city center along US 41, and you'll see real quality architecture, real quality businesses being set up. If you look at 10 years, it's more difficult to see, but actually is more substantial, where we'll see the universities established here, we'll see training going on, we'll see quality jobs being created, and we'll see some real substantial companies setting up here who will be hiring people from Northport and training them for the type of jobs they need.
One other thing is, what is the benefit to the people? Did we speak about that before?
No. We have to, it's something that is so self-evident to us. As